In this video, I'm going to go over why our self image is actually created based on how we think other people are viewing us. See, God gave us the ability to see today, but you decide, we decide what we choose to look at. You know, it's really interesting because I sometimes ask myself, do others view me in the way that I think they view me? Or am I just assuming that they're viewing me this way? Because people may be feeling something about you that's completely different than what you think. And the way that you view you will be the way that others do too. Welcome to the Perspective Pause. My name is Chesco, and this is a weekly live stream from 10 a.m. Eastern, maybe about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that we're going to go into a highly value-based video about talking about an experiment that was done. We're going to go into a framework that's going to help you be able to finally own your self-image and understand who you truly are, and a few extra little bonuses. So if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, because only 30% of subscribers are watching this, and 70% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel yet. So if you're watching this live, I appreciate you. Go ahead and comment in the comment section where you're tuning in from. And, I'm just super excited to be here with y'all today. So let's get started. This video is important to me. Well, here, let me show you. Just again, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to this video, and go ahead and click the bell for notifications. So that way, anytime we do go live or anything is dropped from this channel, you will be able to be notified, as I do believe every one of these channels is going to really underline the same value-based belief. And that is that you don't need a new life. You just need a new lens, because our self-image is in direct proportion with the lens in which we use when we look at our surroundings. I don't know if you guys have ever taken a moment to hear. I don't know if you guys have ever taken a moment to actually take a look at the way you may be viewing things, right? And a lot of the time, we tend to think that everything on the outside of us is really a determination based on the things that are happening around us, right? What are you talking about, Chesko? What do you mean? In order to fix the outside, we must fix the inside, right? There's so many different things that we can choose to learn. There's so many different things that we can choose to read. There's so many people that we can hire to coach us and mentor us. But see, you can't install new information into a mind that hasn't uninstalled the old information. See, one of the key factors that I believe that I talk about a lot on this channel is that there's nothing that you need to grow. The only thing that you need is to learn how to let go. And when I say let go, what are we letting go of? We're unlearning and relearning. It's kind of like your phone, right? If you want to update your phone, if you want to update your software on your MacBook, if you want to update anything, right? You have to uninstall what was there before you can reinstall what needs to be there, right? The new information cannot be put into something that is closed. It's kind of like if we have our hands closed, we can't hold on to anything new, right? If we're holding on to something else until we release, we can't actually go ahead and grasp what it is that is going to be for us, right? So there was a study, right? This is really cool. This is really cool. This video is going to be really interesting, because there was a study done, and it was called the Scar Experiment. And this experiment was done in the 1980s, right? And this video was done by Dr. Robert Kleck, 1980, at Dartmouth College. It's called the Dartmouth Scar Experiment. And through this experiment, what they wanted to accomplish was they wanted to see if that people really were discriminated against if they had any type of problems or dismemberments or anything that was wrong with them. They wanted to see how people were mistreated, right? They wanted to see if people were mistreated, if there was something wrong with them, right? So here I'm going to go into the drawing board here, back to the old drawing board. I like to do this a lot, and what I want to go over with you guys today is I'm going to illustrate this, right? So you had 10 people, right? So you had 5 people here. You had 5 people, right? That were on one side. And this was an experiment done that was at Dartmouth University back in 1980, right? And they took 10 people, right? So they got 10 people together, 10 people for the SCAR experiment, right? And then they had another 5 people over here. Now, these 5 people, they actually took and they went ahead and they drew a scar, right? And what they did was they had a makeup artist come in. And that makeup artist went ahead and said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and draw this scar on 5 people's face. And we're going to take all 10 of them and we're going to let them go out and go into having interviews for jobs. We're going to let them go ahead and talk to people at local stores and really just strike conversations, right? So they took the 10 people and they went out and they started conversations. And then they also went ahead and they had some job interviews set up for these people to see if people were actually treated or viewed different because they had different dismemberments or they had any type of issues on their face, right? And what happened is they went out and they said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and go out there, right? So you had these 5 people. They went out to talk to people, right? I don't know why he doesn't have a mouth. Let's give him a mouth. They were both happy to do the experiment, by the way. But the people on the left, they went ahead and they ended up talking to people, and it seemed like everything was fine. Now, the people on the right were a little bit more nervous. They were more nervous than the people that were on the left. And why is that? Because they felt like they were going to be judged as they talked to people, and they felt like it was going to be uncomfortable. I don't know if you guys have ever felt that before. So where you feel like somebody may see a stain on your shirt or your shirt is wrinkled, right? And you go out and you're like, oh man, my shirt is wrinkled. People are going to notice that my shirt is wrinkled. And it's interesting. I heard something called the 20-40-60 rule. And the 20-40-60 rule states that when you're 20 years old, you care and you worry about what everybody thinks about you, right? Then when you hit 40, you start not to care and worry about what people think about you anymore. But then when you hit 60, you realize that nobody was caring and nobody was worrying about you at all. They were caring and worrying about themselves, right? But that's something that takes time to learn, right? Now, over time, they went out and they started talking to people. They went on some job interviews. They actually they went into some local stores. They bought a few things. They just did all sorts of things for the whole day, right? And they came back. And when they came back, they realized that they interviewed everybody and they said, "Hey, how did it go?" Well, the people that did not have the scar on their face, they said everything seemed fine. Right? Now, obviously, this wasn't to find out what happens to the people that don't have, a scar on their face, drawn on their face by a makeup artist. This was to find out what was going on with the people that did have the scar on their face. So the people that did not have a scar, they said everything seemed fine. Everyone was nice. Wasn't discriminated against, right? Now, the people on this side, they said people seemed nervous. Now, I'm not talking about the actual people that were going out to talk to people that they were nervous. They were already a little nervous because they were like, man, when I talk to people, how are they going to view me because I have this scar on my face? Right. And like I said at the beginning of this video, people are going to view you the way that you do. So the way that you view you is the way that others do too. So going back to, they felt nervous, they felt anxious, and they felt discriminated against. So what ended up happening was the people that had the scar on their face, they felt like people were discriminating them or maybe treating them a little bit differently because they had this scar on their face. Now, what ended up happening is that when they came back, right? Let me erase this here. When they came back, they said, hey, I want to tell you something. And we're like, what's that? And before they all went out, when they all came in and the makeup artist drew the makeup or drew the scar on the five people's face, right? Right before they went out, the makeup artist said, hey, what I want to do is I want to touch it up a little bit more and make it look a little bit more realistic. So they actually went ahead and let the makeup artist go over to them and do that, right? But little did they know that the makeup artist wasn't actually making it look brighter, more fresh, or moisturized, like they said. The makeup artist actually removed the scar completely. I don't know. This is mind-blowing to me, right? Because they went out and they thought that there was an actual scar there. So by them thinking that people were focusing on something that wasn't even there, it caused them to feel like they were actually being treated differently. Drop some flames in the chat or some rockets in the chat if you're catching this. It's a lot quiet. We're quiet in the chat today. Like drop some rockets and flames in the chat. I want to know if you guys are catching this, right? Because too many times, do we think that people are paying attention to something that only we can see? Or maybe something that we've created in our mind that's not even there? Have you ever done that? Ever walked out of the house with a stain on your shirt saying, oh man, people are going to see the stain. And then when you're talking to them and they kind of look around a little bit, you're like, oh, they're looking at my stain. When in all reality, it's like what I just said with the 20, 40, 60 rule. People don't care about what's going on with you. They care about what's going on in their own life. So the 5 people that went out and said they had no scar, everything seemed fine. The other 5 people that went out that had no scar, it wasn't fine. But why did they think that something was wrong? Because they thought that something was there that wasn't. Come on, y'all. And what you see is what you get. What does that mean, Chesko? What are you talking about? It means that what you perceive is what you will receive. Man. I wrote something down this morning when I woke up. This is good, right? It's not the scar that is not what's real. It's what you think other people are thinking is not. See, the problem is not that the problem is not what we're thinking about. The problem is not what other people are thinking about. The problem is how we're thinking what other people may be thinking that they're not even thinking at all, which then is causing us to create this perception of life that is not even reality. It's not even reality. I see you in the chat. What's up, Ian? Your life, or should I say your experience in life, is in direct proportion with the way that you perceive it. And a lot of us, when we're not perfect, which we'll never be, right? I want you to hear this. When we show up not perfect, which is all the time, if we're shooting for perfection, we're always going to have this little bit of self-rejection instead of acceptance. Because if you have this, man, this goal of wanting to be something that you'll never be, like there's one thing in life. Now, granted, in the Bible, it says all things are possible in Christ, right? God can do the impossible. I believe that we must do the possible first. But understand something. There's one thing that's not possible. But how is that possible? It says in the Bible that anything is possible. So how is one thing not possible, Chesco? Because it's true. Can I tell you guys? Can I tell you guys exactly what the one thing in life that's not possible is? Somebody say yes or yes. Being perfect. Being perfect. There was only one that was perfect. And he walked this planet 2,026 years ago for a short period of time and made a massive impact because he knew who he was. You don't need a long time here. You just need to know who you are. And the problem with us is that we're viewing things that aren't even there. You know, I think about the things that I went through a series of times back in 2016 or 2017, right? When I went through a divorce, caused me to be a single father. I became an entrepreneur 6 months before that after I had a great job, but things just went downhill and, oh man, it felt like one thing after another. And it got all the way to the point where I was living at my mom's house in her back room and my daughters were on two little cots, right? They were 6 and 7 at the time. And I'll never forget this. Like, I really thought that my life was over. And when I would talk to people, I thought that I was carrying around a t-shirt that said, like, I'm going through a divorce. I'm worthless. I keep failing. I can't succeed. I'm a horrible dad. My kids are sleeping in the same room as me at my mom's house. I have no income and I'm just useless. I felt like I had a t-shirt that said all that on it. So then when I felt like I had that t-shirt, as I talked to people, I talked with my head down. I literally would talk to people with this sense of disgust. So what do you think other people saw? Who knows what they saw? I can't tell you what they saw. And that was the problem, right? Is I was like everybody thinks that I'm a failure because I'm a failure. Well, I'm here to tell you that where you are is not who you are. I see Regnus Backpacks. What's going on? Good morning. Where you are is not who you are. Where you are is not who you are. It's just a place that might be possibly some you may be in detention, right? For your decisions. Right? You may be feeling some regret. You may be you're just dealing with consequences from decisions that were made. But through those decisions created consequences that created experiences, which created new beliefs, that created new experiences to become a better person in the future. And I think a lot of us are so focused on the perception of what other people have on us that we don't even realize that we create that perception inside of ourselves. Because when we know who we are, we know whose we are, then we can realize that we've been created in the image of God. In the Bible, in the beginning, he said he created the heavens and the earth, and he created all of these amazing things, and then he created man. And the first thing that he created, the first thing that he said was, be fruitful and multiply, which means to create. Create. God created us in the image of himself, which meant for us to create. And sometimes the only way that we could create is to go through experiences that we experience that an idea comes to our mind through that experience. You know how many traumatic things that people go through that a phenomenal idea was born? Like in my rock bottom moments, in my moments where I felt like I hit rock bottom, which then I did not notice that God was the rock at the bottom. But then it allowed me to build a solid foundation on a new idea because I created a solution for myself to come out of a rock bottom situation, which now gave me proof to be able to help somebody else do the same. And I always like to say, like, we have to go through what we have to go through to create something to help others to grow through. We are not exempt from pain. If anything, pain is a beautiful thing that we run from because adversity is painful. But I'm here to tell you that the adversity is a gift. Anyway, I think I'm going left. I want to get back into this because we think that we're all walking around as if what we've been through is what we look like. And you do not look like what you've been through. Nobody can see where you've come from. I think it's Romans 12:2 says, do not be conformed by the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. By the renewing of your mind. That's what I'm doing on this channel, is I want to help people renew their mind and understand that if you woke up today, you're winning. God is not done with you yet. Matter of fact, I believe he's just getting started. So if you can wake up this morning and say, where I am is not who I am. I know who I am because I know whose I am. Now I can actually say, let me renew my mind and have a new day because I'm going to do some new things in it because I'm going to be a new person in it. Like you can wake up right now and say, you know what? Like the way that I've been perceiving and believing life is not how I should be living life. Anyway, so with that being said, the way you view you is how others do too. What you see is what you get. Nothing is anything until you call it something. Right? Let's come back here. Right? So nothing is anything until you call it something. What does that mean? Well, there's a story that I've told a few times, and I'll tell it again. When my daughters were in softball, probably around like 7 or 8, I went through this time that I was just telling you about where I was, I literally attempted to commit suicide. And I'll get into that on another time. But, well, actually, I'll just let you know so you can understand that, like, this isn't coming from some kind of a place of something that I read in a book. This is all from experiences in my life. And I went through such a really low point in my life that I felt like God was done with me. And I was focused on the one thing that I didn't have. So you hear me talk about adjusting your focus a lot. This is where that came from, right? And where this came from was a place of just lack. And I felt like I had lack because I was focused on the one thing that I didn't have. What was that? It was money. And it felt like the more that I would chase the money, the more it would run from me. And that's a principle for another time because the more we do chase something, the more it does run from us. We have to stop chasing things and start attracting things. And we do that by becoming the person that things are attracted to. But in that moment, I didn't know these things. I didn't know none of this stuff. All I knew is that I was married. I went through a divorce. I ended up having to sell the house. I took all the money to get me into a place, and then I lost all my money again. And then I was about to get evicted from a place that I was living at for about a year. And I hit like rock bottom, like probably like 3 or 4 times. Like every time I looked at my account, it was negative. Every time I was turning around, I was like pawning gold, or I was taking everything that I had to be able to just get through another couple of days. And at that time, I had just started in the life insurance industry a few years back, and it was really difficult because I was in a corporate job where I got paid every Friday, no matter what. I left that to go do a life insurance sales job because I was promised that I was going to go ahead and be my own boss, and life was going to be amazing. It was through a multi-level marketing company called Primerica. Definitely not with them anymore. Not going to say any bad things about them, but I will say that when it comes to multi-level marketing, sometimes they're more focused on actually building their team more than they are on helping you build your life. That's another story for another time. But through that process, I'm grateful because I got my license and I was able to help some people. But I wasn't prepared for the emergencies. I didn't have an emergency fund. I didn't have anything set aside. So when I went through the process of finally selling to my whole war market, I sold to my friends and family. Everybody bought life insurance that I knew at that time, right? But then when it went out for me to go find some more leads, it was like, man, I don't know how to be an entrepreneur. I don't know how to be a business owner. I don't know how to get more clients. So I was struggling, and I struggled so bad to the point where we were eating cereal for about 10 days straight, and then the power went off. And this isn't one of those stories like the power went off and my life changed. The power went off and on probably about 6 or 7 times through that year. The water got cut off at least about 8 or 9 times that year. We didn't have food at least maybe 30 or 40 days that year. Right. This wasn't one of those stories where it's like, yeah, the water went out. So me and my wife took a bath on the side of the house with the water hose and my life changed after that. No, my mindset did not change in a night. And I hear a lot of these stories about people when they talk about, yeah, you know what, this happened and everything changed. But it just kept happening because I wasn't actually becoming the person that made better decisions. I was chasing more money. Even if there was a situation where I had a life insurance sale, I would literally, in that point, I was unethical at that point. And I could say that now because I've grown, but like, there's probably still people out there. They grab their calculator, right? And they're like, I'm sitting here in this home, and how much am I going to make off this sale? All right, you know what? They're going to pay $100 a month. I'm going to go ahead and make, let's see, about $800, $900 off of this. Awesome. And I'm actually counting my commissions before I even sold something because I was focused on myself before I was focused on others. Now, granted, that was the tool that's gotten me success in life, is focusing on others instead of myself. But let me go back to what I was saying. Got to the point so bad, I went ahead and said, I can't take this anymore. I had a 9mm Springfield XD model. I went to the pawn shop to go pawn it. But while I was sitting in the parking lot of the pawn shop, I said, you know what? I've pawned everything. I'm going to pawn this too. But you know what? This is the way out. This is the way out. So I went home. I literally took this. It's so crazy even telling this story. I've told it a million times, but it's still so crazy that this is real. I took this, I put it in my mouth, and I pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. I actually was shocked. I was shocked because nothing happened. So I realized what happened, right? Well, I didn't know what happened. I realized what happened by looking at it and saying it wasn't cocked back. So I cocked it back. I put it back in my mouth, and I went to pull the trigger, but then boom, 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 on the door was actually my daughters getting dropped off with my ex-wife. My 6 and 7-year-old daughters were at the door while I'm on the other side of this doing that. I mean, they were on the other side of the door while I was actually sitting there attempting to take my own life because of money. They came in the house. I put everything away. They ran upstairs. I came back downstairs. It was a townhome at the time. I was just crying. I couldn't stop crying. But in that moment, I felt this hand on my shoulder, just touch my shoulder and say, Chesko, adjust your focus. Adjust your focus. You're focused on the one thing that you don't have. It's not that deep. Look at all the things that you do have. Look at the health that you have. I mean, you have daughters. Some people are going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to have a kid, or maybe then have to adopt a child. But you were able to actually create 2 children that are healthy. You were actually able to get this far. It's crazy how we think about where we are and we think that's who we are. But I said it before and I'll say it again, is that where you are is not who you are. Where you are is just a place where you just need more information, more education to create a solution to become somebody better in the next season. And I think that a lot of times we're so focused on right now that we don't think how amazing things are going to be if we just keep going. We think that we look like what we've been through. I walked around everywhere as if there was everybody that I met, I almost felt like, wow, I've been going through all of this. They know what I'm going through. But it's crazy because sometimes when we get to it, Like there's a moment in life, like if God brings us to it, God's going to help us through it. And I think that it's all about what we choose to look at. So going back to what I was saying is that God gives us the ability to see today, but we choose what we look at. So what I'd like to do now is actually teach you a framework to help you be able to look at what's necessary for you to start changing your life just by what you give your attention to. Can I do that? Somebody say yes or yes. Come on now. So let's do that. Hopefully you guys are getting some value today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Again, like I said, 75% of the viewers that have watched my videos for over 15 or 20 minutes have not subscribed to the channel. So I understand if you just pop in and you don't see any value, or you just check this out and you're like, oh man, that's not for me. That's cool. If I'm not for you, no problem. But if I am, hey, do me the favor and help the algorithm be able to find more people that will value this information. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. That way Google can find more people that need the value from this channel. So what I'd like to do is give you something called the L.O.O.K framework, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a hand. And I like to do something. I'm going to give you one of my cheat codes today. I usually don't give this out for free. Didn't plan on actually doing this in the video, but it just kind of came to my head. But this is how I'm able to remember things. That is not a turkey. That's a hand. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Oh, my bad. Here we go. That's not a turkey. That's a hand. Okay. So let's put maybe little creases in here so you can see that that's a fat pinky, bro. Okay. So what I'd like to do is help you. You know what? Instead of doing it this way, I'm going to do it a different way this time. You know what? Because I'm starting to write all my frameworks a little bit differently than I have in the past. And what we're going to do here is make this interesting, right? So actually, we'll keep it like this for now. All right, so we have the L.O.O.K framework, right? So the L.O.O.K framework, and what is this going to mean? This is going to mean, like, you know, let me make sure I'm not coming off the page here. All right. So if you change how you look at things, you're going to change what you see. Have you guys ever heard that quote by Wayne Dyer? When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Well, this is going to be the thing that helps you do that. Because a lot of people talk about quotes, right? That's great. I love quotes. But, you know, quotes don't work unless you do. Let me say that again. Like Wayne Dyer, fabulous guy, said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. But today I'm going to teach you how to actually do that by using the L.O.O.K framework. Because you may hear these quotes, and Wayne Dyer teaches it, but a lot of people just love the quotes. Don't fall in love with the quotes. Fall in love with the process. So quotes don't work unless you do. Let's go, Chesco. These videos are fire. I love the blackboard and the content. Let's go. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for so much. Thank you for showing up live. This is really the place where I believe we can actually learn things instead of taking these little dopamine hits when we're thumbing through the shorts all day. So I appreciate you being here. So what we want to talk about today is the L.O.O.K framework, right? And the L.O.O.K framework is really cool. Number one, we're going to focus on label, right? And when we label things, we let's see here. We label with intention, right? We label with intention. And you know, we think that everybody can see us, and then we think that they can't relate to us. And because you believe that they can see it, you're experiencing discrimination even when it's not happening. And that's that SCAR experiment in real time, is that you actually will experience discrimination, but it's not even discrimination. And what does that mean, right? And I'm not talking about like race when I say that, right? But it could be, right? It could be, you're systematically disadvantaged, or whatever the case is, right? I have somebody that's inspired me to make a lot of this content, and he actually has a massive disadvantage. He actually has one leg that he had polio when he was a child, right? And basically, he talks about it all the time, that like the disadvantages that are in his life, if he focused on them, then he would feel that he's less than. But instead of focusing on the disadvantages, he focuses on the strengths that he has, because God may put certain things in our life to be able to allow us to experience an experience that other people can't experience, right? Like I had a skin disease for many years. I had Bell's palsy happen to me. I've had a double hernia repair surgery happen to me. A lot of physical things is what I'm talking about, right? And through all of those processes, I started learning that every time that happened, it was like a moment where I slowed down. And through the process, I learned something in those moments that I wouldn't have learned if I didn't have the experience. So, like, I talk about my focus framework a lot. I know I have a lot of frameworks, but through my focus framework, the O in the excuse me, the O in the focus framework stands for obstacle or opportunity. And the way that we're able to turn an obstacle into an opportunity is to ask ourselves, why is this a good thing? Why is what I'm going through a good thing? Because if I can ask myself, why is this a good thing? That means I can get out of my head for a minute. And then I can actually say, you know what? Are there some good things about this? Because I'm actually in a group chat with a bunch of guys that, and I didn't say this in the group chat. I thought about this yesterday, and I'm going to say it on here because I didn't know if it was maybe the right thing to do. And sometimes I get in my head just like everybody else. But in this group chat, one of the guys in the chat, he was like, my grandmother passed away. And he said that my grandma passed away, and I'm going through a lot of grief, and I'm going through a lot of pain, and a lot of people were like, well, go through your healing process, your grieving process, and all that kind of stuff. And immediately what came to my mind, and this may sound hardcore, but I don't know, I used to be the toxic positive guy. Everything's gonna be fine, no worries, don't worry, be happy. But I'm starting to realize that I need to be kind of the person that I am. And the person that I am, I haven't put it in the group chat yet, because I'm still actually questioning myself. Is this too harsh? Would be, just because somebody's died in your life doesn't mean that you have to die with them. Now, granted, that may be offensive to some people, but I learned that when I filed a death claim for a 7-year-old child for a police officer, when his father, when he came to me and said, my son passed away. And I was like, oh my God, my condolences go out to you and your family for your loss. It's really sad to see that you lost your son. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what I would say. But that's when he looked at me and he said, listen, my life has to keep going on. And this created purpose in my life to help other families make sure that their kids don't end up doing what my child did. Now, how much courage and faith does that take for somebody to take a really horrifying situation to where their child passed away to immediately ask themselves, why is this a good thing? Why is this a good thing? I don't know how I couldn't fathom that, right? If one of my daughters passed away, I don't think the first thing in my mind is going to be, why is this a good thing that my daughter passed away? I mean, I wouldn't even want to think about that. Like when people talk, because words matter, words are matter, right? We would say, I pray to God that doesn't happen, or God forbid, right? God forbid that happens, right? God, please forbid that from happening. But when you think about what somebody else is going through, you sit there and think, man, if I was going through that, if I lost my child, would I automatically be thinking about, why is this a good thing? Probably not. So for that person to say that, to me, shifted my mindset. And that's all I want to do on this channel is shift perspectives. I want people to realize that you don't need a new life. You just need a new lens. So if somebody is going through something where somebody died, their job died, their season died, their position at work died, maybe some clients that they have are no longer working with them, whatever the case is, that doesn't mean that your attitude has to follow the situation. Your attitude does not have to follow the situation. You determine your attitude, and that gets adjusted by practicing gratitude. So the L, label. Label with intention, right? And like when you think about this, we have to, man, like we have to realize that nothing is anything until we call it something. I know you guys have, some of you may have heard my umpire story. Um, it's really truly interesting how umpires and refs, they say that they call plays right a certain way, or they call it how they see it, or they call it what it is. But it's like nothing is anything until you call it something. Like a strike is not a strike until you call it one. A ball is not a ball until you call it one. You know, a failure is not a failure until you call it a failure. You're not losing unless you say that you're losing. Like you can feel like you're losing, but not see that you're winning because you're not using something like this look framework. All right, let's keep going. The obstacle that you're facing right now, it's not a problem until you call it a problem. The person that hurt you, they're not your enemy until you label them your enemy. That setback in your life, it's not a failure until you name it a failure. Our subconscious is going to continue to operate on the labels that we assign. So when we call something like a setback a failure, our subconscious mind is going to create an emotional response around failure. It starts looking for evidence that you're a failure. It protects you from more failure by keeping you from trying again. The labels that we put on ourselves are not just words, they're actually commands to every cell in our body. So when we determine what we're looking at, first it's going to be a label that we give it. So we're giving something a label. Like today, are you giving today the label of it's going to be a great day? Or are you thinking about maybe the thing that you didn't finish from yesterday? Well, hopefully you finished, but I'm just saying, like me, there's something that I needed to finish yesterday that I didn't complete. So is my attention going to that? If it is, then I should be thinking, all right, great. Well, I have an opportunity today to complete what I did not complete yesterday. It does not mean that I'm a failure today because I didn't complete something yesterday. We should look at it in the mindset of saying, man, I'm blessed that God woke me up today. He helped me see today. Now I'm going to choose what I look at. So I'm going to look at it like I got another opportunity today to actually fulfill what it was that I didn't finish yesterday. So it's like in that SCAR experiment, right? The participants, they labeled themselves disfigured. So they experienced judgment. They experienced what they labeled themselves as. So when they were walking around, right? When you had these people here and they were walking around with what they thought was a scar on their face, they experienced life as if there was something wrong with that because they labeled something was wrong with that. They said, hey, man, I got something wrong with me. So what I was saying earlier, and it just came to me that I wanted to mention when I was telling you kind of like a little bit of my testimony, I was talking about how adversity was a gift. And it's like in life right now, whatever that we're going through, it could possibly be the greatest gift in our life, although it's wrapped in sandpaper and broken glass. I know somebody can relate to that, right? Like your life right now, it's hard to see that it's a gift. You know, Chesko, how can you say that this adversity that I'm going through is a gift right now? It is a gift. It's just the wrapping paper was made out of broken glass and sandpaper. So it's like it has to break us before it can build us. And if we keep working, I mean, all work works, right? One of my mentors says all work works, and it's either the work is working on you or the work is working for you. But the people sometimes won't get to the point where they see that the work is working for them because they haven't allowed the work to work on them long enough. It's all working right now. It's all part of the process. It's all part of the process. So the O, let's get to the O, right? Let's get to the O because some people got to go. Come on, Chesco. Observe, right? I know it's just like this guy here. Anyway, um, we got 4 to go, and then we'll be out of here. Observe, right? Your conscious mind is the director, but your subconscious is the camera operator. Whatever lens that you've installed, faith or fear, scarcity or abundance, victim or victor, that determines what gets focused on and what stays blurry. You're not seeing reality. You're seeing reality. Like, how do I say this? Like, you're not seeing an objective reality. You're seeing a programmed one. You know, when people say mindset, right? When people say mindset, all about mindset. I can't stand the word mindset. Everybody says you got to have mindset. You got to have the right mindset to be successful. Well, look at mindset and flip the word around, right? Here, let me just do this, right? So when people say mindset, right? It's 2 words. Think about it like this. If you were to take this and flip the word, it may help you a little bit. Mindset looks like a smiley face, right? I like that. I actually like that. You know what? We're gonna put a circle around it just to do that. That looks good. When you think about the word mindset, flip the word and think about setting your mind, because that's what it is. That's what it is. It's the difference when you get your mindset to a place where you start to really realize, like, you don't even know. See, here's the thing. It's like when we have kids. Any of you guys got kids? And you guys got kids, you know, you don't realize how old they are until you start looking back at pictures because you see them every day. It's the same thing with you. Like, you're growing every day. If you're constantly reading and getting mentors and putting yourself in masterminds and getting around other people that push you and stretch you and celebrate you and hold you accountable, like you're growing. Your mindset is growing, right? But you can't see that yet. But the best way that I could explain it is that you're setting your mind up for success, because now you're actually setting your mind what it's going to look at throughout the day. Instead of allow the day to determine what you look at. You either run the day or the day runs you. It's kind of like that, right? So when you think about mindset, think about, this is where I set my mind. Because you could either walk into a room where the temperature is set, right? Or you can become the thermostat and set the temperature. Set the temperature. Set your mind. If you set the thermostat, dad of 2 girls. Me too. Let's go. I actually got another daughter too. I got 3 daughters actually. Crazy. Let's go. Girl dad. Come on now. So when we get to talking about setting our mind, it's like this, right? You set the thermostat to 73 degrees, like where it's at in my house right now, right? It's going to feel nice and cool. If you set the thermostat to 80 degrees with the heat on, it's going to feel hot. That's exactly how our mind works. Our mindset, no, stop saying mindset if you have to, for you to understand the importance of it, and start saying, I'm setting my mind. I'm setting my mind up to determine what I want to look at. Because again, God woke you up today and you couldn't have determined whether you see today. God decided whether you see today. You determine what you look at. God decided what you see today. You decide what you look at. So let's get back to the framework, right? Let's get back to this framework. Drop some flames and rockets in the chat if you guys are getting any value today. Right? A few more things here. So I love a book. I don't know if you guys have ever read it. I don't know how many guys are entrepreneurs. How many guys are in sales or anything like that. I was in sales for a very long time. I do business consulting now. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I want to say that, like, there was a book that was given to me by my uncle, actually, probably around about the time where I became an entrepreneur. And I did not think that that book was going to be really that valuable to me, right? But I think it's really important for me to bring it up right now, because by talking about observing, it's really, we labeled something what it is. Now we're observing the situation, right? And when we observe the situation, we're kind of like determining how we're going to move forward. So this book was called The Greatest Salesperson in the World by OJ Ogmandino. Sorry. And in that book, I remember Jim Rome talking about this too. But in that book, he says that there's a salesperson and they were talking about going out and doing sales that day. And he said, it's raining and it's pouring. So today's not a good day to go do sales. He was doing door to door sales, right? He was knocking on doors and it was pouring rain. And he said, today's not a good day to do sales because it's pouring out rain. And then the other person said, what are you talking about? How is it a bad day to do sales because it's raining? Why don't you look at the opportunity? Like, why don't you change the lens that you're looking at this current situation through and actually see that the rain is going to prevent all of the salespeople from showing up today? So that means I'm not going to have any competition today. I'm not going to have any competition today. So I would, you got one person looking at it and they're looking at it like, you know what, it's raining outside. So I guess it's a day for me to go ahead and catch up on some paperwork. And then you got somebody else that says, it's raining outside. Everybody else is inside catching up on some paperwork. So I'm going to go out here and knock on some doors and I'm not going to have any competition. Let's go. So how are we looking at our life right now? Sometimes we're taking a look at our situation where we're slowing down, but it may be the very thing that we needed to speed up. Wonderful book, read it many times. Let's go. Okay, I'm not alone. I love it. I love it. So when we think about this, right, we think about, and I want to kind of go back to the connection with this, the SCAR experiment, right, is that the participants had a lens installed. Like, I have a scar, therefore people will judge me. I mean, the lens determined what they saw in every interaction. Normal questions became judgment. Professional behavior became discrimination. Same interviews, different lens, different experience. What I said earlier, where you are is not who you are. You think people see your past. They don't. You think people see that you feel like you're not enough. They don't. You feel like people see your disadvantage. They don't. You just think they do, so you're acting accordingly to the thoughts that are in your head instead of reality. While you're sitting here overthinking yourself, there's somebody out there right now that's praying to God that they have the ability that you have because they're completely intimidated by the possibilities that they feel that they could see you actually accomplish in life because of what you have. We're overthinking the gifts that God gave us in our hand, and we're overthinking taking action with these things, while there's other people that are looking through a different lens that said, if I had what they have, I would be able to accomplish so much. What is in your hand right now that you're actually taking for granted that God gave you, that you prayed for before, but now that you got it, it doesn't seem as powerful anymore because you've had it a while? Or maybe the situation God put you through that had to create a result in your life, maybe that result that you're creating for yourself is something you can create for others. Come on now. Drop some rockets and flames in the chat if you guys are getting any value from this. I believe somebody needs to hear this. I needed to hear that. Exactly. Let's go. Let's go. Because there's so many times in my life that I feel like I'm walking around with the things that I've gone through in my life on my shirt, but nobody sees that. They only see what I'm doing now. They don't see what I did yesterday. Nobody knows who you were yesterday. Nobody knows what you've been through yesterday. Nobody's seen what you've been through before. I want to be transparent with y'all right now because something really triggered me yesterday. And it's uncomfortable to say this because I don't even want to point it out, but it's reality, right? Let me tell you guys, like, I Googled myself yesterday and my name, Francesco Franzese, right? And it said Florida man. This isn't even me. This is somebody with the same name. It showed a picture of a different guy. But when I Googled my name, the first thing that came up on Google that said that this person was arrested this past year for things that I don't even want to say on this video. And I looked at that and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. So now when people Google me, they're going to think that's me. They're going to think that I got arrested this year. They're going to see my name, Francesco Franzese. How many of them are in the world, let alone live in Florida? Right. And now I'm looking at this like, okay, if somebody Googles me, they're going to see that, oh, this guy got arrested for what? That's not me. It's not even me. Like when you look at the picture, it's somebody else. But now you see that headline that somebody else messed up in their life. And now you see my YouTube channel, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my things that I've accomplished in life and all these other things. And now I'm sitting here thinking, how am I going to do? What am I going to do? So am I going to go around and actually talk to people and say, you know what? Maybe they look me up. Maybe they look me up. Maybe they look me up. Go look me up. You'll see it. But what am I going to do? Am I going to sit there and I'm actually going to go ahead and say, man, I got to hide in the shadows because people may have done that. So now they may view me a certain way. Or am I going to address that? I don't know if y'all saw the movie 8 Mile, right? Back in the day. I used to love that. I don't know if you could tell, but I got a little bit of a hip hop background. Went on tour with T-Pain, Young Jeezy, Lil Wayne back in the day. I made the Tampa Bay Rays official rap theme song in 2008. I always like to kid around and say, you know, in 2008, I got into real estate. It wasn't really great. Matter of fact, I was kind of late. But anyway, but I'm saying all that to say that like we all have a past, we all been through some things, but it's like, what am I going to choose to look at? Am I going to choose to look at the fact that, okay, well, people could have seen that, or am I going to point it out? I might as well point it out. If somebody's like, hey, you know, I saw this and say, I know that sucks. There's nothing I could do about it. We're trying to listen. If there's nothing you can do about it, then use it to your advantage. Because when you fall in love with the things that people can break you down for, nobody can ever break you down. If you show your insecurities, if you talk about your insecurities, if you mention the things that are actually making you feel like it's holding you back, then how can somebody ever make you feel like you're being held back? If you expose those to others. It's like me. I used to think I got a gap in my teeth, right? And I got a lot of friends that got braces. My daughter, I even bought her braces, right? And it's like I'm sitting here thinking, okay, should I be insecure about that? I don't care, because if I cared about that, then I wouldn't show up today. And I'll be here every single Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I mean, I showed up on a call before this for 700 days straight, pouring into other entrepreneurs. And now I'm doing this instead because I feel like one day I won't be here, and my daughters and other people may be able to come to this channel to get the value that they need during the time that they're going through, right? We've been on here an hour already, but it's okay. I'm good. I just love adding value. Man, I wish I could hear this all day today. It's truly a breath of fresh air in the chat. Ian Keen. Hey, bro, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for sharing. But it's true, right? It's like our transparency is someone else's therapy. And if we don't share what we're truly going through somewhere, then everybody will think just because my content looks good that I'm trying to be perfect. I'm not. I just want to be clear. And I just want you to hear. Like, that's all that matters to me. But I do know that the way social media is designed and the people that are running around, even with online businesses that are showing you something that is so perfect, even with AI now, I mean, it's almost like you want to do the opposite. You don't want things to be so crispy. You almost want to get to a point where we're transparent because it shows that people are real. And I think that's the problem in this society, is that nobody's actually talking about the low points in life. As if, you know, I'm going to go ahead and do sales all week this week and every single day is going to be great. I'm going to put it out in the air and I'm going to say that. I'm going to say I had the best week ever. I mean, I know people that even say it was the best week ever. But what I'm going to say is that, like, when I look at where I'm at, I know that there's going to be some moments that I have down moments. But if I don't discuss the down moments, then how is somebody ever going to think that you're real? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, cool. So let's keep going, right? So the next O is going to be owning your outcomes, right? Owning your outcomes. Own your outcomes. I got people that told me my videos are too long. Well, that's why I'm putting out shorts. It's just too much value. Like, I can't compress this to the point where I'm just going to eliminate the value or be myself or really show people why I'm so passionate about what I do, because these videos are going to live long way past me. And, you know, I can't skimp anybody else on the value. So I always like to say, take ownership, take action, and eventually you'll take off. And it's really just a factor of not being the victim in your circumstances and becoming the director of your attention. I'll say that again. Like, don't be the victim of your circumstances, become the director of your attention. And what that means is that, again, God woke you up today. He's the one that made sure you can see today, but you determine what you look at. And your circumstances, they don't define you, they just reveal you to yourself based on how you handle them with your attitude and how you move forward. That's good. I mean, you got bills you can't pay. You look and see that I'm broke and I'm a failure, right? God forgot about me. Or you can look at that and see that this is my opportunity to trust God in a new way. This is my assignment. This is not punishment. God has given me this assignment that's putting me in alignment. This is not punishment for what I've done. It's preparation for who I'm about to become. Man, this assignment is giving me alignment because this pain is not punishment for what I've done. It's preparation for who I'm about to become. Because who you're becoming is far greater than wherever you're running to. Nobody can take who you are away from you. I promise you that. So stop shaming, stop blaming. You know, it's like going back to the Scar experience. They didn't like own their own perspective. They blamed the interviewers by saying they judged me, they stared at me, they discriminated me. But in all reality, they didn't take ownership. Like, how many times do you say something like, man, this happened because someone else made a mistake? Like, if you get in a car accident, you're immediately probably thinking, okay, what did that person do? We should probably be thinking about what we did. Because once we take ownership, then we can take the right action and then we can take off. It's take ownership, take action, take off, right? But we must take ownership. We must take accountability. Because here's the thing, right? And one of my mentors, he always told me this too. He was like, you know, if I give somebody else the opportunity to have ownership for what happened in my life, then I'm going to give them the opportunity to be accountable for the change that could be created also. Meaning that if I were to say that this caused the chaos in my life, then I would say that this would have to create the solution in my life. But once you actually own yourself and you look in the mirror, things start to get clearer. When you look in the mirror, things start to get clearer. So then you could take accountability. You could take ownership of the problem and realize that you are the problem. But newsflash, you are the solution too. Because if you give somebody else the power to say it was their fault to create the problem, then your brain subconsciously is saying, well, it's going to be their fault to fix it and become the solution. When in all reality, when you take ownership of your problems, then you get to fix everything. You just got to find new information. You got to find a mentor. And you got to find somebody to hold you accountable to walk into that new life or that new season. So nobody's rejecting you because of your past. You're assuming that they are. Nobody's treating you differently because you're saying that I'm not enough. That's the lens that you're choosing to look at things through. And the system is not rigged against me because you feel like you're experiencing discrimination from something that people aren't even looking at. Own your outcomes. Stop blaming others for the scar that you put on your own face. Own your perception. Own your perspective. Own your life. Adjust your focus. Change how you look. Change what you see. All right. Victims, I mean, they stay stuck, man. Victims stay stuck. They just stay stuck. Like I posted this on Instagram, right? In my story, and I said, today I'm going to help rearrange the furniture in your brain. Today I'm going to help you rearrange the furniture in your brain. And it's like, that's the thing. Victims stay stuck. But when you own your situation, you get to rearrange your life. You get to change things. I'll never forget. There was like this revelation I had. I used to walk by this lake when I was going through that transformation era in my life. Not that horrible time, but that transformation era in my life. And I used to actually sit there and think to myself, like, man, things are falling apart. I'm losing things in my life. And it was like, man, what a beautiful thing, because I get the ability to choose how I get to put things back together. So I wrote this little thing. I went live on Facebook. This was like 2020. And I was like, man, life is like a magic puzzle. When things fall apart in life, you get to find out what pieces you actually want to put together to make a new one. It's like when things fall apart in your life, you get to decide what you want to walk back to. It's kind of like when COVID happened, right? It was almost like a blessing for some, and not for everybody. I mean, my stepfather passed away in January of 2021 from during that season. But what I'm saying is that, like, when we got out of that, that stage where we were all like locked in, we had the ability to choose what we wanted to walk back to. So when things are not going well and you hit a rock bottom, it's a beautiful thing because you get to set a solid foundation. But at the end of the day, you won't be able to set a foundation if you're blaming other people that went ahead and created this disaster in your life. Own your life and you'll own the future. Be the director of your attention. Your story is going to be created and developed based on you becoming the director of your own attention. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. Yes, shout out to Tony Robbins for saying that a million times. But it's the truth. And sometimes you got to hear things a million times before it sinks in. So the last thing is know your why. Because that's the only thing that's going to keep you going when things get tough. So when we're doing this with our fingers, right? I like to use my hands a lot for remembering frameworks. When you use your pinky for know your why, it's the smallest finger. But a study shows that if you're gripping onto something and you remove your pinky from the grip, your strength on the grip drops 50%. It controls half of your power despite being the smallest. So when you think about the label, you think about observing your outcomes. Observing. And then you think about owning your outcomes. Then you know your why. Why you do what you do is your vision. And it says it in the Bible, without a vision, the people will perish. So if you don't know where you're going, it always seems small. It always seems really small to remember my why, right? Do I really need to remember that? Absolutely, because it's the only thing that's going to push you when you feel like stopping. There's been numerous times in my life that I felt like quitting. And if you feel like quitting, it's not a problem. Everybody feels like quitting. It's just the decision that you make, whether you do it or not. Because I'd say about 50, 60%, I mean, I'm just throwing out a number out there. Don't take this as a stat. I'm just saying in my own life, 50 to 60% of the time, I felt like quitting. But 100% of the time, I didn't. And now the person that felt like almost quitting, if you felt like you almost were going to quit, you still didn't. You're still here. So give yourself a high five and keep going. So knowing your why. Man, your subconscious is running programs written by every experience, trauma, victory, and the story you've absorbed since childhood. It's subconscious, operating under your awareness, but it's controlling approximately 95% of your decisions. Studies show that your subconscious is controlling approximately 95% of your decisions. So until you go deep and examine why you see things the way you see things, you're just a puppet to your old programming. Until you go deep and determine why you see things the way you see things, you're just a puppet to your old programming. I used to sabotage my success all the time by just believing the lies, buying the lies. And you have to stop buying the lies. They are costing you way too much. So aligning that with the SCAR experience was that these participants, they had a subconscious programming. Disfigured people get rejected. People that look like this or have a scar on their face get rejected. That program ran automatically. They didn't consciously look and choose to feel, they didn't constantly choose or decide to feel judged. Their subconscious created the experience based on old programming about how people with scars are treated. Let me ask you a question. What story are you believing? Let me come back here. What story are you believing in your mind right now? What story do you keep replaying over your mind right now? You may have to watch a lot of this video to figure that out. You might have to come back to this video, and that's fine. It's not going anywhere. YouTube videos have a long shelf life. Thank God. Let's go. But I will say that what story do you keep telling yourself about things? You know what story I used to keep telling myself? I went through a season where I told you I was doing life insurance. Then I became a financial advisor, got a great mentor, started doing dinner seminars, did estate planning at Ruth Chris and things like that with many different clients. And I realized that in my mind, I had to be a certain way in order for those people to actually become clients in my life. So I did everything that I thought that I had to do to become who I thought other people wanted me to be. I did everything that I thought that I needed to do to become who I thought other people thought that I needed to be. And what happened? I failed miserably because I wasn't myself. And it was literally a season where I was actually doing everything I could to pretend to be somebody that I wasn't. And then the difficult part was continuing to be that person and not know which person I was. Like until you just surrender to God and say, I'm going to be me 100% of the time. And I'm not going to reject myself. And I'm going to take in all the things that I think are flaws. But that's why we need a perspective pause. Because when we're working on our personal development or business development all the time, that's all we focus on is our flaws. But sometimes we never stop and have some self-reflection and pause. Because who we are is not based on where we are. It's based on who God said we are. So when we now say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and be myself, now it's not exhausting anymore because you don't have to think about things. You don't have to say, hey, before I go ahead and sit down with this client, I got to remember I wore a blue suit that day. And I remember I was telling this story about this, and I got to remember that it's too difficult. Let that go. Let go of who you think you need to be based on who you think other peoples are going to receive you to be. Like what you perceive is what you receive. Like, I don't know how else I could say this, but I do know that the more that I continuously walk into who I believe that God wants me to be, the more I feel at peace. So what I would tell you right now in this moment is that there's a story that you're being told. There's a story you keep telling yourself because I look this way, because I have this going on in my life. If you would just realize that that's your competitor's advantage in life, that is the thing that actually makes you better, not worse. You think these things that are happening in your life, your current situation, is making you bitter. No, change the letter. It's making you better. Come on now. It's making you better. It is because it's allowing you to look at the situation differently. Why is what you're going through a good thing? Why am I looking at this through the wrong lens? Somebody put the word new lens, 2 words in the chat, new lens. Because we don't need a new life. We just need a new lens. And we're walking around as if we got a scar on our face, and then we think that the scar on our face is an issue. So it's twice as deep because now we're thinking that people are treating us a certain way based on our own insecurities. But the way that you view you is the way that you think others do too. But they don't. They don't even know what you've been through. So just serve others. Love others. Love your neighbor. Serve others. Stop focusing on you. Take that energy off of you and just think about serving others. Don't think about the stain on your shirt. Don't think about the wrinkled shorts. Don't think about the divorce. Don't think about the bankruptcy. Don't think about the 10 years in jail that you spent. Don't think about the business partnership that didn't work. Don't think about the stock market that crashed. Don't think about how, you may be faced with cancer right now. You may have cancer right now. Focus on how it's going to be when you come out of this situation, because whatever that you're going through is going to eventually be everything that you got through, because God's got you. Your brain is lying to you. Your brain is trying to protect you from doing the things that are uncomfortable. But until we get comfortable with being uncomfortable, accepting ourselves for who we are, things will never change. So change how you look at things, and you're going to change what you see. I pray to God that this video added some value for you today. I feel like I went left and right quite a few times in this video. It's really a passionate topic of mine because I've dealt with insecurity throughout my life at times. But now I'm realizing that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just not actually things about myself. I'm not actually seeing why the things in my life are a blessing, and I'm thinking that they're a burden. But your perspective is absolutely everything. It could either be your passport or it can be your prison, but you decide. All I ask for you for this video is that if you got some value from it, share it with somebody that you feel may be someone that needs to see this as well, and subscribe to the channel or tell someone else about it. I'll see you here next Wednesday. Every day is Wednesday if you spell it right. Winsday. If you woke up, you're winning, because 150,000 people didn't get the chance to see today, but you did. And God is not done with you yet. He's just getting started. So again, take the focus off of the personal development and the business development and focusing on your flaws, and really take ownership through today's perspective pause. I pray you guys are well. God bless you. Thank you for everybody in the chat. I see you. I'm glad this spoke to you. Make sure you share this with somebody today. Y'all have a blessed day. Take ownership, take action, and take off. God bless y'all. Peace.